Hello members, good evening. Hope you're all fine. In response to one of our members here in the group who asked about the usage of if function for more conditions, that is more than one or two. So I just want to throw a little bit of light as other teachers come in. Please allow me first enlighten us about what if is. If is a function which returns one value if the condition is true, or another value if the condition is false. Remember, it is categorized as a logical function. Yes, if is a logical function, meaning that we use it to fulfill conditions, to check whether some conditions are true or false. It is also one of the most important and popular functions in MS Excel. So I think all of us need to know how to use if function. So let us dig in. So before we go to the many conditions, I want us to look at the use of basic if. So we have an example here where we are having sanitizer soap, others with their scores here. So we want to find out whether they failed or passed. So we are going to use 70% here. We are going to use 70 here as our passing score. So anybody who scored at above 70 here is going to pass. Anyone below is going to fail. So let us go further. So when we are going to write a formula in Excel, we first type equals. By typing equals, Excel will understand that we are going to write a formula. So we write if. Remember, when you write if, it automatically takes you to the parameters that you're supposed to fill in order to fulfill the conditions of if. So we are having these parameters here: logical test, value if true, value if false. So the logical test is the condition that we want to test, to see whether the value which is put here is what will appear if the value that we are checking for, or the condition that we are trying to check, is true, and value if false will be the value that will appear in case the value that is here is false, or is not correct, or does not fulfill the condition. So let us go on. So first of all, the first parameter it is asking us to write here is the logical test. So what are you trying to test? We are trying to test if these scores here are fulfilling the condition of passing, that is above 70 and above. So we say B2 is greater or equal to our 70, which is the pass mark. Remember, we put a comma because it is telling us we put a comma there. Value if true, remember it was this which was highlighted, which we were on, and it was around it was highlighted here, logical test. If when we put a comma, it highlighted value if true. So it is now asking us to write what will appear if the value here is fulfilling this condition, that is pass. Remember, we put it in quotes. Why? Because Excel does not understand plain text in case it is in a formula. So pass, our second condition is, when you put a comma, this will highlight, asking you to put the value which you want to appear in case the value here does not fulfill the condition that you gave if. So we want to say fail. Remember, we put it in quotes and close our brackets. Press enter. So sanitizer passed here. So we autofill down here, downwards, to fill all. This was just it was just representing all others. So after autofilling, we shall get the results for all. And so passed because is away, or is way far from 70, which is the percentage pass. COVID failed because he is way below 70. So that is the if function when we are using the formula. How about if we go to use the function itself? So if our result was to appear here, then we click there, we click in the cell where we want our result to appear, we go to function, we search for if, another person will go and type here if and go, and then the if function will appear. So it is telling us logical test value if true. So what we want to test, we want to test if this value in this cell is greater or equal to 70. Value if true. If this condition is true, what do you want to appear? Pass. If it is not true, what do you want? Well, if the condition is not fulfilled, if the figure here in this cell or here does not fulfill this condition, what do you want to appear? Fail. Remember, Excel, in case you are using the function arguments, it will automatically, in case you insert a plain text, it will automatically put for you quotes. So by pressing OK, it will bring pass, and then if you go downwards, so bringing the same answers as we got before. So let us dig in more and we see if we are going to use more than one if condition. So we are going to give a comment here. One of our members in the group gave us this example, and I would want to use the very one where we are having the scores and we have to comment whether a student was promoted on probation, repeated and failed. So we are using these scores to fulfill this, to find these comments. So now we are going to use if, the same conditions, the same parameters that we used, but the only difference here is that we have more than one condition. So let us try it. So we say, since our comments we want them to appear in this cell, we say we click in the cell we want them to appear and say equals if. Of course, if, remember, checks where the condition is met and returns one value if true and another value if false. So brackets, open brackets, logical test is highlighted already, asking which condition do you want to check. We want to check if B2 here is greater or equal to 75. So you put a comma, value if true is highlighted. If the value is true, what do you want to appear here is promoted. Promoted, but of course it has to be in quotes, remember guys, since it is plain text. So now if you put a comma, it is asking you to put value if false. Remember, value if false is in case it was the first example where they were two, we are having more than two here. So we don't go for value if false. We have to fill in all these conditions. So we go for the next one. But here, this is where it becomes confusing. So because we have to fill in so many ifs, so guys here become confused what to do. The thing is simple, guys. Just fill in this again after the comma. The number of times you want this, you up to when you fulfill all the conditions except the last one, as we shall see. So we fill in, so we say if again, open brackets, so the parameters appear again. So we say B2 greater or equal to, she used 50, comma, what do you want to appear? This is highlighted, so we want to appear promoted on probation, close quotes. So comma again. So since it's not the last one, we go for another if, comma, if, open brackets, logical test, we want to test this value whether it is greater or equal to the figure 30. So 30, I think that is the second last. If this is equal to or if this is greater or equal to 30, we would want us what to appear to be, comma, open quotes, repeated, close the quotes. So since this is the second last and we are remaining with only one condition, we wouldn't want to go for another if. Let us put a comma and we see. We put a comma, it is saying value if false. So value if false, it is requiring us to put the last parameter or the last condition, which is failed. So we don't need to put another if. Failed. Remember, we put it in quotes too. So the trick is we have to close these brackets the way the number of times we open them. So we opened 1, 2, 3. Why? Because the first if, inside the first if we have one if and another if. So we close corresponding brackets 1, 2, 3. You'll even notice that even the colors of the brackets that are closing will be corresponding to the colors of the brackets that are opening each if, so, or each condition. So one purple here, another red here in the middle, and the last one which first opened, which is black. So in case they fail to correspond in color, maybe they are all black in most cases, just know there is something that is wrong with the formula that you have written down. So by pressing enter, it will give us promoted. So we autofill downwards and we check. So it is giving us results that promoted because they are above, promoted because they are above 75, promoted on probation because they are below 75 or between the bracket of 50 to 65. So how about curfew? Supposing curfew got 35, what would happen here? Curfew repeated because it's falling in a bracket of 30 to 45. How about Mr. Posho? Mr. Posho here got 43. What happened? Mr. Posho also repeated. Beans 28. What happened? Mr. Beans failed. Why? Because he's way below 30. That is between the bracket of 0 to 29. China also got 12. China also failed because he is in the last bracket of failed. So members, please let us know that in case we are using the nested if, or we are using more than one if condition where there are 3, 4, 5, we have to repeat the number of conditions or the number of ifs which are true, and then the last if condition, we don't put the if, we just put what we need to be shown in the cell. Thank you so much for listening. We await other teachers to give their views or other students to give their views on the same. Thank you so much for listening.